Hello everybody, welcome back to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and today we are going to be doing the much requested update to the predictions video. So phase 1 is now in the books. We already know which teams are advancing from phase 1 into phase 2 and which teams were eliminated from the event. And we also now know all of the round 1 matchups for phase number 2. So all of this info will help us to update our predictions, and well, assuming you copied my predictions, but even if you didn't, I mean, maybe you'll want to make a few changes. Maybe the most notable of all is I did have G2 doing pretty well in Swiss, but they can't do that because they've been eliminated from the event, to the surprise of many. So we'll talk about that. A very quick aside, and I'm going to make it quick because I've had some lengthy ones recently. I did just want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers as well as the continued subscribers. We've passed 2,600, which isn't a massive number in the grand scheme of things, but for me, it's a nice little milestone. We've gained something like 500 subscribers or so in the last week or two. In a very short period of time. I have now a video with over 10,000 views for the first time. I have a video with over 500 likes, so a bunch of cool milestones, and I just wanted to say thank you everybody. Keep liking the videos, watching, assuming you're interested, and commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. Very much appreciated. Okay, into the actual content of the video now. Let's start with just a little bit of recap because it's going to help inform our decisions going forward. I will have the actual full recap video for day number 2 up, I think, tomorrow. So I'm uploading this on the day that the matches for phase number 1 end. And then tomorrow is an off day, Saturday. And I'll have that video out with the full recap. Check it out. Okay, so this is what happened in phase number 1. We won't go too deep into the weeds. We're mostly just going to talk about which teams actually qualified. And let's actually talk about how the points work for the predictions. So I didn't go over this previously. I guess I wasn't really aware. I thought it was just you predict teams in the correct position or you get no points. But the way it works, so let me go back here. One qualified team equals 1 point. One team in the right bracket equals 1 point. And that was the same thing in phase number 1. So each position is actually worth 2 points except for the finals. These slots are only worth 1 each because you just have to pick which two teams are in the grand final and which one's going to win. So there are 3 points available in phase number 3, and in phase number 2 there are 16. Each of these slots, which there are 8 of, are worth 2 points. So if you predict a team advancing and you predict them at the correct score, so if you say a team is going to advance at 3-0, that is 2 points for you if you're correct. But if you say a team's going to advance at 3-0 and they actually do it at 3-2, that's only 1 point because yes, you got the team right, but you did not get the position right. And it was the same thing for phase 1, and I can't show it because this is now the screen here, but you had to predict which teams were going through and whether they did so in the upper or the lower brackets. So if we go back to this graphic here, I said Space Station would go through in the upper bracket, so that's 2 points. I had Liquid going through in the lower bracket, so that's 1 more point, and I had Cyclops going through in the lower bracket, so that's 2 more points. So again, SSG, I got right in the correct position, so that's 2. I got Liquid correct, but in the wrong position, so that's 1, and I got Cyclops correct in the correct position, so that's 2 more. So 5 out of 8 points. I think that's pretty reasonable. I almost went with Bleed over Liquid, and if I did that, I would have had 6 out of 8 because I would have lost the 1 point for Liquid, but I would have gained 2 points for Bleed because I would have had them in the right spot. So if you got more than 6 points, I think you either are extremely lucky or, I mean, kudos to you for doing a really good job. If you didn't have G2 in here, I mean, you're just some sort of miracle worker, or again, maybe you just predicted at random or something. But I don't think there's going to be too many people that are above 5 points, and certainly very few people that are above 6 points. But if you're at 5 or 6, I think you're feeling pretty good because these were not massively surprising results, but relatively surprising because G2 did go out. I think for most people, if they were going to say one team they thought was going to go through for sure, it probably was going to be G2. Okay, so I think that's all we need to talk about here, and we'll go back. Okay, I think actually we have another graphic to look at because now, yeah, let's switch over to this because I think this gives the information we now need to consider. Okay, and before I do my actual predictions, take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. I don't know everything. I did predict fairly well in phase number 1. I would assume some people predicted more accurately, but probably not that much more because again, of the one pretty big upset, and then I actually got some of the less likely things correct, i.e. Cyclops going through. But I've been sitting here painstakingly trying to decide which teams I want to predict, but there's only so much I can do. At some point I just have to make a prediction, and surely many of them will be wrong. Hopefully I get most of the actual teams right, but as far as the position they go through in, it's really tough. And I think made even tougher by the way that the initial draw worked out. So unfortunately we're going to see an NA versus NA and a Japan versus Japan matchup in the first round. So it's never fun at these big international events when you see the same region going against each other, maybe here and there and depending on the circumstances, but off the bat it is a little bit unfortunate for that to happen. And also a lot of the teams that I see as the weaker teams or the less likely to advance teams, whatever you want to call it, are playing against each other. So these two matchups at the bottom here, you can't see my cursor, there we go. These two teams at the bottom here, and then I think E1 versus Bliss. And I did pick all 8 teams to go through in that previous video. I'm going to pick slightly differently, and I sort of have to because I had G2 as one of them in the last video, but now I cannot pick them. They are not in this phase now. So yeah, I'm not picking any of these guys. E1, Bliss, Talon, Bleed, Scars, Cyclops. I'm not picking any of those. And so that narrows it down to only 10 teams, and we need to pick 8. So I need to eliminate 2 more, and then I need to put them in the positions. And yeah, it's really, really rough. Let's actually switch back, and we'll do a few of the initial ones, okay? Because I do want to maintain these. I want BDS and I want FaZe as my 3-0 teams. It does suck a little bit because we have, let me put this over here so I don't keep clicking on the wrong one. We do have Furia versus BDS in the very first round, so we are guaranteed to get this matchup, but I think a lot of people want to see this, but this is a best of 1, so maybe not the circumstances under which you wanted it. If Furia do beat BDS, then automatically BDS can no longer go 3-0. I guess Furia could still potentially go 3-1. But yeah, that makes it tough because, well, obviously you can't put both of those in your 3-0s because you know for sure that's not going to happen. So I think I'm going to go with FaZe and BDS. I guess I'm predicting BDS to beat Furia in the first round. And I am still going to have Furia, and maybe this is bold, because I'm assuming them to go 0-1 off rip. That means in order to go 3-1, they're going to have to win exactly the next 3. And some of those are going to be best of 1s. And we did just see them be pretty shaky overall within their region. They lost a bunch of best of 1s. So maybe this is a foolish prediction, but that's still what I'm going to go with. These are, for most people, going to be still the top teams in the event. And so I am going to lock them into sort of these top positions. Now is where it gets really difficult. And okay, let's do the next team. I'm going to go with Dark Zero. I had them originally here. I'm going to stick with them. And I had Beast Coast over here, and the reason I'm doing this already, skipping over to the 3 and 2, is because they play each other. So if Dark Zero loses this and Beast Coast wins, that's going to not invalidate my predictions, but make them really tough, because that means Beast Coast is going to have to win, or they're going to have to win 3, of course. Well, okay, 2 more. They will already have 1 win, but they'll need to lose exactly 2 more. And Dark Zero, to go 3-1, they're going to have to win 3 in a row. So I guess I sort of want, because of my predictions, I want Dark Zero to win this one, even though really I'll be rooting for Beast Coast just because of the team and whatnot. But as far as my predictions go, yeah, I guess I need Dark Zero to win this one. And I don't think I'll talk about this for all of them because we're maybe getting a little bit bogged down. But yeah, that is certainly a factor to consider. If you have certain teams in certain positions here, you might want to reconsider if they play each other maybe in the first day. But that's what I'm going to go with for these. And then don't get angry at me for this. I'm going to have Space Station here. And I feel like this is especially bold. This is probably one of the first ones I would change. Some people might not even have them in their top 8 as one of the teams going through, but probably a lot of people that do are going to have them down here 3 and 2. They looked incredible in their last 2 maps played. They just won 14 rounds in a row against Bleed. They 7-0, 7-0'd on maps 2 and 3. But if you look at their other maps, one of them was a 7-1 against Cruelty. That was really, really good. SSG looks incredible on Bank. They're 14-1 overall on Bank, so that'll probably be banned against them most of the time. But they had to go round 15 against Cruelty on one map, and they lost 7-5 to Bleed, and the Bleed one was Clubhouse. I think the Cruelty one was also Clubhouse. So yeah, maybe they're just a little bit rough on Clubhouse. Maybe that'll work to their advantage. They can just put that as a higher priority ban, and maybe that'll work out for them. But yeah, they had a few shaky moments in phase number 1. They came out really hot in the last 2 maps, But compared to all these other teams that are in phase number 2, that is 5 maps of information that other teams have on them. And I guess maybe also the stamina factor. They've already had to play 2 matches, 5 maps over the course of 2 different days and all this stuff. They do get a day to rest up, so probably that won't be that big of an impact, but if they start making it deeper and deeper, maybe that will start to weigh on them. So that is a factor, and so I think 3-1 is a little bit bold, but I guess I'm gonna go with it. So those will be my 3-1 teams, and then we already filled in Beast Coast here at 3-2. Who are the other teams I'm going to go with? I'm going to keep ITB here. I really want to pick them, not just because of the whole crowd factor. Where are they? ITB, right here. Yeah, it's just a cool kind of storyline, and they did pretty well within their region. They made it all the way to the 2nd seed. They took a map off of BDS, and again, yeah, the crowd I think will be rooting for them more than any other team, just based on the nationalities of the team, of the players on the roster. So yeah, I think pretty solid team, but also they have that X factor going for them. And I do only have them here at 3-2. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw them go 1-3 or 2-3, but I'm gonna have them here. And then my final pick at 3-2, I'm gonna go with Liquid, and where it's Team Liquid on here, yeah. So maybe you call me crazy in regards to this one as well. So similar story for Liquid as SSG. They showed, I guess, 5 maps because they played 3 against G2, and there were a lot of rounds played in that series. And they played against GK where they kind of smashed GK. So a little bit less information, but still 5 whole maps for other teams to look at. Maybe they'll get winded a little bit, but they did certainly look better than I expected because, well, one, I just, like everybody else, thought that they would lose to G2, and then I thought that they would eventually play against Bleed, and then it would be really close, but they would make it through, but things worked out a bit differently in the phase 1 bracket. And yeah, I just think that they have a ton of talent on that team, the likes of Maya, Palu, Nesk, even if you think maybe Palu and Nesk are sort of past their prime, but I really like the way that the team has come together in the last little while, not only in phase 1, but also towards the end of the regular stage where they played some best of ones and they looked a lot better, didn't make playoffs, but then they made the LCQ run where they clearly look like the best team in the Brazilian LCQ. And now here, I think a fire is going to be lit under them a little bit. I don't think that they are a team to be taken lightly, and 3-2 still, they could certainly do better. I have other teams doing better, but I'm going to sneak them in there. So yeah, G2 is not on here, and the other team that I took out of my top 8 is M80, and one team had to go, and part of the reason I got rid of them was because I thought people would think me foolish for picking 4 NA teams. If all 4 do make it through and I didn't predict it, that's going to be tough, but I think it's pretty unlikely 4 NA teams go through for the last little while. Clearly Brazil has been the best region, and then I think Europe is, I think, pretty clearly number 2 for the last little while. So NA at a firm number 3, and I do still have 3 NA teams going through, 3 Brazilian teams going through, and then 2 European teams. So we'll see. Yeah, those are going to be my predictions. Other ones that you might consider adding, let's go here to look at it. I think Secret is maybe one that I'm omitting unfairly. Let me know. I can only assume that they're going to start out 0-1 because of who they're playing against in the first round. And I think M80, you know, maybe you think that I should put them back in there. But again, I don't think I would pick E1 Bliss and these 4 teams, even though some of them are going to have that early head start because they're playing against each other. I just don't have a ton of faith in them. There's a decent shot that at least one of them does make it through, but I would not be surprised to see none of them make it through. I really think that these 4 teams and these 6 teams up here are sort of the favorites. And okay, I don't know, is there anything else that I need to talk about? I talked about the points, right? So 27 points possible. I'm on 5 out of 8 so far, and we'll see how many we get here. Does it show the rewards? Yeah, it does. So let me know if this is already updated for you, if you submitted. If you did get, you know, 5s, however many points, at least 3, you should already have this unlocked, but I don't know if this is not until after the event when this actually happens. And so maybe I'll get you guys to that battle pass. We're only 9 points away. So if I can get most of these teams and some of the positions right, I guess we can get there, but I don't think too many people are getting the champion tier there. And okay, I guess I'm going to watch this video back, and maybe if I forgot to say anything, I'll splice it in here. I kept skirting around this, but I never actually said it. I kept saying it's unfortunate the matchups we're seeing in the very first round, but I never really said why. So what I was getting at was that, let's say Scars versus Cyclops, for example, if I think neither of them are going to go through, that's all fine and dandy. But after these guys play, one of them will inevitably go 1-0. And so just say Scars win. Cyclops, maybe they'll go 0-3, 1-3, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Scars only need to win 2 more. But if we go up and look at Beast Coast and Dark Zero, I predicted both of them to go through, but one of them will inevitably already be 0-1. So it is a little bit rough picking any of the teams from the same matchups. In a way, you almost want to pick one from each matchup. But because a lot of the teams I did not want to predict got paired up against each other, I cannot do that. But if I didn't omit anything big, then I guess, leave me the like, the sub, the comment, all that great stuff. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow for the day number 2 recap.